So in the 90s, I was a river guide and trekking guide, not a very good one actually. And the classic river trip back in those days was the Sun Cozy. So the Sun Cozy is a river that flows down from the Everest range. And it was an 8-day trip. And anybody could book on this. So we'd have groups, maybe 20 to 30 people, so 5 or 6 boats. We'd drive out of Kathmandu for a few hours and get to a beach, which would be the put-in, the last road you'd see until you get out 8 days later. So there'd be villages you'd pass on the way down that would be linked by walking trails, but no roads. And we'd take everything we'd need for the trip, so tents, food, what we need to cook, gallon jugs of rum, anything we'd need would be strapped into the middle of the raft, including first aid kit. We'd become our own doctors, and the guides would be the doctors, based on their own illnesses. We'd suffered, we'd dispense medicines on the way down, which is, if necessary, which was kind of a scary thing to think. The other thing that's scary now, what it was all about back in the day was there were no telephones. I think probably Everest expeditions had satellite telephones by then, but definitely no mobile phones. And it starts off very calm. So we'd be allocated, we'd split the group up into crews for each boat. And you'd begin, that first day, you'd just be floating down and becoming maneuverable, turning this group of people into a crew so that you could maneuver the boat. And then we'd stop that evening, like we would each evening, on a beach on the side of the river, and camp, cook for ourselves and so on. Maybe a few beers and a cigarette in the evening, and then off we go the next day. And I suppose one of the things that made these trips interesting was everyone was different. I remember waking up one morning and someone didn't look great, to be honest, and I asked, "How are you getting on?" And the answer was, "I'm not doing too well, I had nightmares all night." I was like, "Oh, okay. Yeah, I can't swim." And I said, "Oh, don't worry, we've all got life jackets, that'll be all right." And he said, "Yeah, but I'm scared of water." So I was wondering, why didn't you choose a one-day trip? Why did you even choose rafting? But if so, go for a one-day trip, see how you get on. So obviously, once you've started on this river trip, there's no turning back. You just see it's 7 days, 7 more days to get to the end. So you'd have people like that who were genuinely scared, on their edge. They wanted a scenic float. They were expecting a scenic float down a river, and then all in the same boat, you'd have people who, however wild it was never wild enough. So I think that was part of the thing, was bringing this group together. Anyway, back to where we're going with this. Where are we going with this? So yeah, you'd begin the trip and you just get used to rafting, get everybody into the routine and the rhythm, and making sure you could turn left and turn right and pause and paddle hard, fast when you need to. And this trip was great because the first day or two would be quieter. What you were doing was getting ready for Jungle Corridor on day 4, which was the first sort of intense series of rapids, and rapid water, whitewater. And you kind of knew you were getting close to it because this valley is winding down the whole time, and the valley sides just got really steep and high, and the horizon sort of disappears. The horizon would disappear, and that would be the first drop, and then you're into it. And there would be a few opportunities at the sides of the river. They're called eddies. They'd be the equivalent of lay-bys on a road, where you could pull in, tie up, get out, and just go and have a look and scout the next bit of river. So that would be a possibility, but sometimes you just have to run it blind. There was no possibility to stop. And I probably did this trip 6, maybe 8 times, and I was with, obviously with other guides. There's a mix of Western and Nepali guides, And so there would be a good knowledge of the river, but each time you'd run the river, the water levels would be different. And there could be rock falls or a fallen tree or different obstacles, different changes in the river. So it was always different, let's put it that way. So you're a fully trained crew by now, and you'd have your non-swimmers towards the back and your gung-ho people in the front would be ready for this. So we'd get out, we'd scout, especially at the top here, you could, at the beginning of it, you could scout it. So, and it would be deafening, you know, and so you'd be just picking your line. And rivers were graded. So grade 1 would be flat water, and grade 5 would be possible risk to life, you know, very exciting, depends how you look at it. And so this river would be grade 4, grade 3 to 4 plus. But one of the ways I quite like to think about grading was, it was described to me by a Californian guide, and he would grade the line. He would say the line is quite easy, it's a grade 3 line, but the consequences could be grade 4 or even grade 5. So basically, if you got it right, fine. But if you were to go wrong, or if someone fell out the boat, or you know, you were to hit a certain rock or to miss a certain line, then the consequences would be quite strong. So that's quite a good way of thinking about everything, isn't it? I mean, everything can be quite easy if we do it right. It was a full day, non-stop, and it was so memorable. I think one of the things that made it special was it was this heightened awareness. You had to be in the present moment the whole time, and there was so much going on for you in your boat, the other boats, you know, because you're obviously working as a team. If someone else has an issue, then maybe you can be the one that can help out. Basically, if someone falls out, you get swimmers, or I was going to say worst case scenario, but next level up would be if the boat flips, and then you've got the whole boat is swimming, and possibly you're losing some kit off the boat as well, so gathering all that up. So Jungle Corridor was a highlight, a very exciting day, and at the end of that day we stopped at Waterfall Beach, it was called, because it was this beautiful sandy beach on the side of the river, and there was a waterfall that was just like the best power showers. Just usually, ironically or magically somehow, there was just enough water to be going over there to be strong enough to give you a good blast, but not break your back. So yeah, Waterfall Beach was a highlight. Interesting, because when I think about it now, whenever we got to those places that were really special, I mean, this was just, there was no one around. It was just you and the group, and camping on the beach, cooking over a fire, rum at the end of a good day. But in my mind, I was always downstream. Once it went quiet, then you're on to the next thing. You're in your mind, instead of enjoying the present moment. But there is a good photo somewhere of me on my first season, looking all fresh-faced and happy at Waterfall Beach. By the second season, it looked like I'd aged about 10 years, I think. So, yeah, so, and then I think day 6 was Hakapur. So you'd arrive there at the end of day 5. Hakapur was the name of the rapid, or the series of rapids. It was named after the village that was next to it. So we'd camp just above Hakapur, and it was really loud. So all night you'd be trying to sleep, and there would be the noise of the river reminding you of what's coming the next day. And this village was in the middle of nowhere, so of course no TVs, no tablets, no distractions of any kind. So when these aliens arrived, strangely dressed aliens, arrived one evening, everybody knew there'd be some entertainment the next morning, so the whole village would show up alongside the riverbank, and I don't know, maybe hoping and praying there'd be some drama to enjoy. The final big rapid, if you like, was on the morning of the last day of the 8th day, and it was called Flipper. So And this was a good one because I mentioned about grading. It was this huge wave, easily powerful and big enough to flip the whole raft. So this way of grading rivers I was describing earlier. So to go through Flipper without flipping would be sort of grade 4 plus. But the consequences were 3. It was safe. It was flat afterwards, basically. And that's why we enjoyed it, because, yeah, if things did go wrong, then there was this big pool below where you could gather everything together. And if you lost some kit, it didn't matter. Flipper was a good one. And that was something that the guides really enjoyed because it was a test of their skill, like all of this. And part of it was how you brought the group together. And some people actually, just the sight of this wave, it was like a wall of water sort of curling back on you that you had to punch through. And the sight of this wave would put some people off, and you'd get other people who join your boat to run it, you know, so they might do it 2 or 3 times, and the others would walk round. Anyone that didn't want to do it could walk round. And this was another guide's common topic of conversation for guides. So there was the river grading system was one, and the other one was speed and angle, which was like a mantra for guides. Everything was about speed and angle. If you were going at the right speed and got the angle right, you could do anything, whether it was chatting up a girl in a bar or running the Flipper rapid. So that was a wonderful end to the trip. But the biggest thrill was waiting for us at the end, because, and not in the form of a rapid. So we're nearly there. Let's just remind ourselves of what we've been doing this time. So it's been a multi-day trip. We've come together as a group. And this river valley has been our whole world. It's just been the water, the valley sides, and the sky. So it's a little bit like being flushed down a toilet. You have, yeah. And we've had Jungle Corridor, and we've had Hakapo, and we've had Flipper, and everything in between. There was many highlights actually to this trip. And then you go around this final bend, and the valley just ends. It's like the sides fall away, dissolve. There's just openness. We just come out onto the Indian plains, and so you can see as far as the horizon, and the horizon feels like it's 1,000,000 miles away. So very spacious, very open. It's interesting because the whole boat just fell silent. So the boat would fall silent, but also it's like your mental chatter falls away as well. So it was actually a very profound experience, and that is what stayed with me. The feeling of that is what stayed with me. And I did the trip, as I say, maybe 6 or 8 times, and that is what I remember most. And it's interesting because the other guides would say the same thing as well. It just had a real strong impact on it. And remember, we're adrenaline junkies, so we're the kind of people who, you know, we needed to risk our life to feel alive. And better still, if you're responsible for a group of people, some of whom don't want to be there, then that gives it an extra edge as well. So this was quite a surprise to us, and we didn't really understand it or have any kind of context for it. We just knew it was a really impactful experience. And of course, quite soon afterwards, we all got busy. We arrived at the get out, unpacking, popping the top off a few beers, and that was the trip done. But that experience, or that feeling, I've never forgotten. That's the sort of standout part of the whole trip. But now I have a little bit of a better understanding of what that was. Because the river is a little bit like our lives, isn't it? We're pushed along and around lots of blind bends. We have some influence. We can go a little bit left, we can go a little bit right, we can pause for a moment, but ultimately we've just got to keep going. But then suddenly, at certain times, in certain moments, it's as if our ordinary mind just falls away and there's more space, more peace, more openness. And I know I'd had this experience sort of in glimpses, flashes of it at different times, walking on a beach, or I remember kayaking on a canal one early one winter's morning. For some people it might be when they're listening to classical music. For me it's usually when I'm in nature, and it's just like ordinary mind falls away, thinking mind goes quiet, and there's this space opens up. And it's almost this feeling that we've arrived, like coming home. There's this sense of comfort and ease and well-being and naturalness, actually. And I suppose, and we're getting close to the point now, and I suppose what I realize now, what I understand now, is we don't have to chase our tail looking for this feeling. We don't have to travel around the world. We don't have to risk our lives. We don't have to do crazy things. Actually, this is an experience that comes out of meditation. So I think that's the point. This spacious openness, clarity, peace, freedom, well-being is an innate quality of mind. It's what meditation leads us to. It's what meditation is all about. And so, ready, punchline. Becoming familiar with the true nature of our mind is what is thrilling. It's what life's all about. And actually, meditation can give us the stability and the confidence we need to live and to die well. So, there we have it. You decide. Whitewater rafting or meditation? One of them leaves you wishing for more. The traditional analogy is like drinking salt water. And the other one leaves you feeling satisfied, leaves you feeling well. I mean, that's the key thing too. So not only is meditation accessible, cheap, available the whole time, but also it actually does the job once and for all. We find this place within us where we feel like, as I say, that we've arrived, rather than at the end of a trip or at the end of an experience. There's just this, like you're looking back up the hill, wanting to do it again, kind of thing. So, as always, you decide. I hope there's some food for thought for you there. I enjoyed these kind of reflections, so maybe there'll be some more. See you soon.